evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today I'm Michael Sweet, lead vocal stylist of Stryper. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm glad you're on. We had a good interview last time, as I was saying earlier, that for the Unplugged, which is a great album. I encourage people to check out. I love the guitars about this; it's so beautiful, and the harmonies. Um, Unfortunately, the whole interview didn't make it because a stupid internet it crashed. But you have a new album out, uh, and it's fantastic. When We Are Kings. I've been listening to it, and as I said before when I talked to you, I can't believe the power of your voice and the maintaining of your voice to this point in your career. I mean, it's a thing with as you get older, and I think you said you don't really have to do much changing vocally at this point.
No, I mean, I think I've said this before. My saving grace is my voice was so high back in the 80s
Mm.
that now that it's dropped down a little bit,
Hmm.
it still works. It's not sounding like I'm down here. Hey, mom,
Yeah,
it still kind of somehow works, and I'm grateful for that. And I still have the power. I'm a chest singer. I'm not a throat singer. So I project when I sing, and I was kind of brought up to do that and trained to do that. So I still have that. I just lost some of my range,
hmm,
but I'm able to just work around that through the writing style or the key that I'm recording in or writing in. It's not really a big deal. Yeah, I would be frustrated if we had to start dropping things down a step
yeah.
or step and a half, and like a lot of bands are doing. Uh, I wouldn't want to do that. We're down a half step from our original tuning, so that's where we're going to stay.
Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes it's a challenge for more bands depending on the sound. Your signature sound is the high soaring vocals, so it would really affect you if you really had to drop down. I mean, that's what
Oh
some
yeah,
singers that
no,
are
no
way lower in
question.
the range.
No question about it. And it's interesting that you say that. That is kind of a signature. Love it or hate it, that's kind of a signature of ours. Uh, we got the guitar tones, that's signature. The
That
harmonies,
was my
that's
next piece.
signature.
Yeah, yep.
And then my style of singing, and I do see a lot of people comment from time to time on all the socials about how they wish I wouldn't scream or sing high anymore. And I'm thinking, well, that's my style, you know.
I couldn't
So
imagine you singing low.
I don't really know what to say about that. That's kind of interesting. But, I'm very blessed that I can still go out and do what I do and perform. You know, I was just watching video of somebody sent it to me and they said, check this out. And I was watching it, and the singer, I'm not going to name names, but the singer was, really kind of changing every note and singing in a much lower range and really
Yeah.
struggling and not able to perform the song even remotely close to what it was. And I felt for him because I've been there. We've all been there, but it's heartbreaking when you're a singer and you can't go out and perform. But if I ever get to that point where I can't do these songs justice, I really don't want to sing anymore. I want to stop singing and go out on a good note. I don't want to go out there and struggle and end that way and have videos of me all over YouTube where I
Yeah.
can't sing any of the notes of the songs. And I don't want to go out that way. I'd rather end on a high note. People say, well, you got to keep going to pay your bills. It's like, I'll find some other way to pay my bills because I'm going to end with a little integrity for sure.
Right. I think, well, at first thing, I think it's funny you get the irony of you want to end on a high note because you do have a high voice. But I do think, you do have a lot of other skill sets. I think some of these singers, and it's no secret, I had Don Dokken on, he was talking about his voice. He's like, you know what? His road worn. I mean, also, he's beaten his voice to other vices. But he's like, you don't like it. And he's going to sing and he's going to sing that range. But he likes doing it. But I think a lot of singers, though, don't also have the other skills. You are also a producer, songwriter. Like you could actually do other stuff and still do music. Like if you had nothing else to do, it changes the perspective. I think a little bit as a musician. What else can you do after? Well, actually was bringing this up. 40 years. Congratulations, the tour.
Yeah, it's
Celebrating. I
crazy.
mean,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing and quite an accomplishment. 40 years, wow. As a producer and a writer and a singer and a guitar player, you're right. If I can't sing, let's say I woke up tomorrow and I couldn't sing, I'd play guitar.
Right.
You
You
know,
have a palette of much more things to draw from than some other
and
singers right
yeah.
now.
And if I couldn't play guitar, I would keep writing and producing, of course. And there's other things I could do in the music world, and I'm very thankful for that. But I guess just my point is, I don't want to be one of those guys that's out there struggling and not able to give the fans what they
Right.
paid for. I just don't want to be that guy.
I feel sympathetic. So I'm on the fence. I mean, you enjoy it, you do it. But as a fan, I do enjoy hearing the higher quality material and the higher quality vocals. But as a
Well,
human
yeah,
being, and as works for a living, I'm like, I get it. I
yeah.
mean, so
You
I
want to
mean,
hear? I mean, you want to hear when you pay to go see a band, and it's not cheap these days. To go see a band in a club, tickets are 35, 40, 45, 50 or more. And then you got the merchandise and the drinks and the food, and you walk out of there. It's a very expensive evening. But if you pay that much money to see a band, you kind of want to hear the songs, how
right.
you remember them. You
That's
you
a fair.
you want to hear them how you recall them as a teenager or what have you. And there's a lot of bands that go out and perform the songs. Even me sometimes. Some of the songs, if I'm having a bad night, I can't pull them off like I used to. But there's a lot of bands I go see and we play with, and it the song is almost unrecognizable.
Right.
And I'm just thinking, man, I wonder what everyone else is thinking about that or feeling about that. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Really, the fans are going to pay for what they want to pay for and do their thing. They have that right. But it still kind of blows my mind that people go night after night after night after night to see 50% of a band versus the 100% they saw 40 years ago. I don't know. That's just weird. It makes no
No,
sense to
that
me.
makes sense. And especially on a bigger scale, like I mean, I'm not gonna say band, but say you saw a band on a stadium tour and the singer couldn't sing, and nobody talks about it. I'm like, the vocal. I mean, that to me is bananas. I'm like, that's a lot of money. That's a huge show. That should be acknowledged. So, but
Yep.
back to the band. So let's talk about this album. So it's fantastic. It's just so strong. I mean, it feels like the album is just getting stronger and heavier. Although this album, I think, pulls back a little bit more. I don't know, extra harmonies, a little extra melody. I know a little more throwback. You said to the Stryper feeling of the old days.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit to me. I mean, so much heavier nowadays. So, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean, if you take this album and go back in time and
which I did
compare it,
after you said that. Yeah, I
yeah,
just side by side.
compare it to In God We Trust, for example. I mean, this album is heavier and more in your face, but there is more on this album of that throwback, the anthem style
Right.
choruses, sing along, everyone raise your hands and sing the song. There's a lot more of that on this album, and that was purposely done.
Yeah.
I had seen a lot of comments from fans over the years about we'd like more of that, so we gave it to them on this album.
Well, I think you have a skill as a songwriter. One of your things you do is you'll have a great, powerful chorus, and then one of my favorite things a songwriter do is you'll do the extra melody like a little higher and a separate part, only a couple parts in the song, which like you're like we're here and then we're here, you
Yeah,
know. And you don't see that in much songs, and like you do that when we were kings in that song, and that's a great video because it looks back at time, it's kind of a fun concept, kind of tongue in cheek.
for sure. I view a song as a writer. I view it as a mini movie.
Right.
You want to take people on a journey and tell the story musically and lyrically. And you want each section, I mean, I want each section as a
Right.
writer to have its own signature. You got the verse, which is cool.
Mhm.
That's got its riff and it's got its hook, and oh wow, this is cool. Then it gets to the pre-chorus or the chorus, and it's like, oh whoa, and it goes somewhere else and lifts and takes you somewhere totally different. You're going, oh wow, I didn't expect that. Then it goes somewhere else for the bridge, and then for the solo, it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, you know. You want to take the listener on a journey, man. So many songs are just kind of flatlined. They just kind of do
Right.
this, and to me, that's kind of boring. I'm not into that, personally speaking.
No, but then that's the thing with a lot of your songs. They do that, and it sounds like you have like two choruses. Like you could actually have two songs. Like somebody I could chop it up, make a couple songs out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With that great melody. I do think that is, one of your songwriting gifts is you do have an ear for melody because it carries over to when you do all your 8,000 projects that you do. I mean, you do a lot of projects, um, it carries over in all those. You've done a couple this year, and people I encourage them to check them out. We don't have time to go into them, but it always has that sound, and you have that sound. You carry over very
Oh,
strongly in anything you do. You solo stuff sounds like maybe a lighter version of Stryper. Like it's always Michael Sweet. That's just you're a strong songwriter.
well, look, man, I appreciate that. If people said if you could choose one thing out of what you do, everything that you do, what would it be to continue doing?
Mm-hmm.
But you had to give everything else up. I would say songwriting
Mm-hmm.
without hesitation because I enjoy it more than anything. And I feel like I'm better at that more than anything. I think
You're
that's my
prolific.
I think that's my strong point. I mean, some people like my voice, some people hate my voice. Same goes for my guitar playing. But songs. If you're touching people with songs and you're able to write song after song after song, that's a whole other thing. And I love it, man. I enjoy it more than ever. So it's really great to hear that people are moved by the songs. That's really great.
Well, I think, and then it really comes down to, I mean, most this whole conversation is about opinion with people, and the internet's full of them. If anybody doesn't have an opinion, they're out there,
Yeah.
as far as what they like. And this is really what it comes down to is what you like, what you do. And I mean, you said, I think you said the last time we spoke too, like about like when you start to write an album, it takes you about 2 weeks, which to me is bananas, especially at this point in the career. Because a lot of artists are like, yeah, first off, to write an album, the overhead of getting done takes a year, 2 years. Some people can't do it. But for you to sit down and do it almost like it's clockwork, like it's a job. And the only other artist that told me they had it timed out like that was from Jethro Tull. Ian, he comes on, he's like, I sat down, I said on January, whatever, 9th, I was going to sit down at 10 o'clock in the studio. He goes, and he was like disappointed. He's like, I started at 11. Like, I thought he was joking. He was serious. So it's
Yeah.
writing to schedule. Not many people can write and keep doing that, and do quality without being like regurgitating.
Well, that's how I write, man. And I'm not saying that's the best way to do things, but it is for me. And I look at the calendar and it says on the calendar in blue, Michael, start writing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 2 weeks before we start recording. You go two
So
weeks
it's
later
like
and
your
in
own
yellow,
pressure, your own
yeah, and
dates,
in
that kind
yellow
of.
it says Spirit House, which means I'm meeting with the band. They're flying in 2 weeks later. And I'm like, oh man, I got to write a whole album. And that's the way I write every single album.
Has it ever blown up on you with Striper
No,
or a solo?
no, no. I mean, that would be the opinion of the fans. They could go listen to every album, and
No,
you
no,
tell
no. I
me,
don't mean that. That's beyond that. I'm talking like you, like you're like, oh man, I just have like 6 songs ready. They're flying in tomorrow. I just couldn't feel like I was because you're like, it's a good song, but I feel like I could put more into it. You know what I'm saying? Like you're sacrificing because
oh
you're
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. No,
cutting
I
yourself
get that.
short for time.
I get that, and I don't. I mean, I once I start and I focus, I sit right here in this room and I
Mm-hmm.
start with the riff. That comes in 5 or 10 minutes. Then I get a drum loop going that feels good with the riff. That's 5 or 10 minutes. And then once I have that within a half an hour, it's just speed, fast motion, fast forward. And within 2 to 3 hours, I have a complete song musically. And then by the end of the night, I have a complete song lyrically. And then I come in the next morning and I record it onto my phone and I send it to the guys. Then I start over. I do that every day till there's 11 songs or 12 songs. That's how
Yeah,
I write. And I always write by myself because it just works better for me.
right.
I've written with other people and that's been amazing, but it takes a lot longer.
Right.
It's
And
like
but that,
while I'm writing
yeah,
with someone else, I want to say, can we go back 2 hours and do what we were going to do 2 hours ago because it was
right.
better. I feel like there's a lot of spinning of wheels and wasted time. So when I write by myself, there's none of that. And I write the song and it's done. I send it to the guys and the guys are like, oh wow, I love this. Then I do the next song. and that's the way every album's done.
It seems, and obviously, I mean, it doesn't seem you're very easy to self edit, and it's something like if you're a songwriter or a painter or a book writer or anything, to write something and step away and go put it down and go, all right, I'm done. A lot of people start doubting it the next day. They come back, gonna tinker with this. Next thing, this. Next thing you know, it's 5 years later. It's a Democracy album. You know, it's like because you have a lot of pressure. I mean, you did have
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of pressure. So you're like, do you want to be original? Do you want to? So you have it in you already trained into you. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm center focused. This is where the goal is. Once the song's here, I
yeah,
step away and I leave it as it is. And that's probably one of your biggest skills then, really, as an artist, because but you see your
probably.
peers, they can't do that.
Yeah, it probably is. And again, it's not to toot my own horn, but you're saying it, and I would,
Yeah,
in response, I would agree with you. That probably is.
that's
And
just a fact. You're
I'll tell
walking
you
away from it.
this. I'll tell you this too. I know if it's good or bad within 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So then, in other words, when I start working on a riff and then I get to the loop process, 10, 15, 20 minutes in,
Yeah.
I know right away. And I'm like, nah, not feeling this. And I trash it. And I move on to another riff with the groove. And the minute I'm going, ooh, yeah, okay, oh wow, this is cool. I like this. The minute I feel like as a fan stepping outside myself, like, oh wow, I like this. I would
Right.
dig this if I heard this on an album. That's what I run with. And sometimes that happens where I trash stuff, but usually not.
Do you? What about like? Because like, say, I know you've like obviously you have Oz, lead guitar player, and but you're your own guitar player, and then you have like you do something with Tracy Guns or George Lynch, and they're their own guitar players. So you're writing, are you writing kind of like rhythm and then like leading spot for because you're always working with other guitar players to put their part in? How are you each time? Are you writing a song? Just you write the song and then you put it out there for the artist, or is it just kind of center focused? You know what I'm saying?
Very center focused. I mean, there are projects I write the music for, like Iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Joel and I write the music for that. When I'm arranging the music, I'm doing it more like I do the Stryper stuff. But when I write with George Lynch or Tracy Guns, they write the music
Mm-hmm.
and they send it the music, and then I write the
Okay.
melodies and the lyrics. So it's more their approach musically versus mine. But there are times when there are sections missing, or we don't have a bridge, or we
Right.
don't have this or that, and then I'll write that in the
Mm-hmm.
studio. I'll mimic the guitar tone. I'll get George's tone or whatever, and I'll record that section. Not a lot of people know that's happened before, and it's not a big deal. But you know, it's for some reason I don't think people don't view me as a guitar player.
Right.
Um, and I kind of understand it, but I kind of don't.
Well, the past
I've
couple
had a
tours though,
guitar.
you've had issues. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I missed up over you. But you to explain the point to people, you've had shortages where there's been health issues with Oz, and you still go on and you'll do it as a three piece, which is change the dynamic of the song to begin with, and you're playing and you're singing, and you still go on and play as a guitar player. So you think at some point you're gonna start getting some credibility. You know what I'm saying? No,
No,
you've really
you
put it
know,
out there lately too.
the thing is if I ask for that, I'm a dick.
See
Um,
it. You do it. You're doing it. They see it.
I'm an egomaniac, narcissistic dick. Uh, that's the way this world is. So I don't ask for that. I mean, I try to make people aware of the fact that I play guitar, but I can't demand respect for it. You earn that. Apparently, I haven't earned that as a guitar player because a lot of people don't really see me as a guitar player. Even when I go out as the only guitar player, you can read the comments, people just commenting on the sound of the band or the voice or what have
Right.
you, and it's like it's really kind of bizarre. I don't understand. It's almost like they're blind to the fact that I play guitar. And people who have been Stryper fans for 40 years come up after every single show, sometimes multiple times, different people, and say, I had no idea you play guitar. And I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, I honestly don't. I have no words. It's like, how can you say you've been a fan for 40 years and you don't know I play guitar?
You have one in your hand every time you do anything. I don't think I've ever
It
seen
is,
you do a video without one. Like
it is
even
the
if the
most
biggest, what
bizarre.
calling on you, probably your biggest, or honestly, probably one of the biggest iconic videos. You got your guitar in your hand.
It's
Yeah,
the
really
most
cool
bizarre
little
thing.
Jackson, isn't it? I mean,
Well, people think, some people, not all, some people think when I talk about me as a guitar player that I'm putting Oz down or I'm not giving him credit.
yeah,
And I give Oz credit. Oz is a great guitar player, but
that's great.
what a lot of people don't know is I've written almost all of the guitar parts. And what do you say? What do you say to that? I mean,
There's nothing you can say.
and
I mean, it's out there now, and if people know it, it's good, and they're going to take this. They can listen to this now and say, "All right, you like." I say, "Ah, this is good." I say, "I wrote this." You do what you do with it now. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
and that's where I've
There's
gotten
nothing
to
you
that
can
point.
do.
Like 10 years ago, I was kind of on a mission because I was just so frustrated with hearing people say we didn't know you play guitar. But now, honestly, I've kind of gotten past that. I don't really talk much about it anymore. Um, and even to the point where I try to stay positive about it because I do kind of find myself falling into a trap of depression, almost like overplaying guitar. Like I sometimes I feel like, what's the point? I work hard. I'm working on all these solos and working on guitar parts and stuff. And I feel like because it goes unnoticed so often, I just feel like maybe I just shouldn't even play anymore.
But
And
that's I'm
what's
sorry.
that?
I was saying, but that's because you hear, one loud person. Here's a perfect example, and this is the truth. I went last night. I saw Dweezil's Apple Play. Met some of the people I didn't know. We're sitting down at the table, we're talking, whatever, and talking about the podcast. And I said, "Oh, I'm talking to Michael tomorrow," and he says, "Oh yeah, he's a great songwriter." I'm like, "Yeah, he's a great guitar player." And we were talking about that. We were actually talking about at the table your guitar playing and your songwriting and how it's continued on over the years. So people do talk about these are other musicians that are in bands and play stuff, before the gig. So different people do talk about it. You're not going to hear compliments on the internet because that's not where you go for. That's not where people give you credit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. I get it. I really do. And I do understand that side of things. It's more like the stuff that's maddening is we go play for 2 hours in front of a crowd of overseas 5,000 people, a big crowd. We're playing for 2 hours, and I'm literally, if you go through the whole set list, I'm doing half of the solos, sometimes even more than half of the solos. And then someone comes up to you and they say, I had no idea you were playing or that you played.
Yeah.
That's when it gets more frustrating, and it's like
Right. Okay.
uh
That's just bananas. So I mean, that's just like,
it's
and those are the probably same
bizarre.
people that had you that you and everybody else lumped into. They still see you as that '80s band, but they didn't even see you as they figured the singer sings, guitar player plays guitar, and they haven't changed that mindset.
Yeah,
And they're not
that's it.
gonna. And the same people put you put Stryper in the same mold. They're gonna put Stephen Pierce in the same mold, or
Yeah,
they're not gonna give anybody and look at the moment. Not gonna look at Stephen Pierce's solo albums. They're not gonna look at. He's a big songwriter, and that's one thing I'm always driving home. He writes songs on guitar. I'm like, people, where do you think his music comes from? You write all the music. I mean, it comes from a source, and
yep.
to me,
No, I get it.
it's
I agree.
bananas.
I agree with you, man. I agree, and I appreciate the encouragement and all the words and stuff. It's still just, it's hard to fight that off when you live it every day. You know what I mean? And it's I'm a big boy. I'm not asking for people to break out the violins and feel sorry for me. Don't do that.
No,
I'm just saying it is a little bizarre to me, and I would assume it's probably bizarre to everybody.
well, even if they
But
don't
it
like your
happens.
playing, they could at least say you play.
Well, yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah, for sure. But I've always been a guitar player first, and I went on record to say that recently. I started playing guitar when I was 5. I started singing when I was 12. I've been playing guitar my whole life. Am I a shredder? No. Will I ever be? No, probably not. But I try to write for the song, and I try to write memorable parts and memorable solos that people like. And I always play for the song, man. That's the most important thing. Play for the song.
Well, your songs are melody driven. Your riffs are melody driven. That's just who you are. I mean, that's how it goes. Um, I mean, you sang for Boston for a brief period of time, and that was really well because your voice is perfect. I tell you, if I could have switched it up, though, I would have loved to do a brief tour with Supertramp with you singing. That would be the thing.
Well, look
I
at
would love to
I
hear you do Supertramp. I just that's a
I
weird
I
thing
would
for me.
love it. I love
Oh my
Supertramp. I
god,
got to tell you a
what a
really
great
quick.
band!
Got to
Yeah,
tell you a really quick Boston story. Uh,
yeah.
Lining up with what we were just talking about. No people not knowing I play guitar. I was contacted to go and sing at their last show, what was supposed to be their last show. And they asked me to come out and sing with all these other guys, Sammy Hagar, Mickey Thomas, Ann Wilson.
Hmm.
And I said, oh my gosh, yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
phenomenal. And so I started learning the song they wanted me to sing, Higher Power. Then I got a call back saying other singers have dropped out. We want you to do more. So I had to learn More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, all these songs. And I'm like, oh man. Well, you know what I did on my own? I learned the guitar stuff too. I wasn't asked to. I learned
Did it
the
help you singing because you're
well.
so used to
I
playing
learned
guitar, or like,
I learned the vocals and the guitar every note. When I
yeah,
walked into rehearsals with my guitar, they were surprised. Oh, wow. You know, and I went in and plugged in and we started with guitar and Tom was blown away.
yeah,
But I think he was surprised because he probably didn't know that I play guitar
right,
or,
yeah.
so it was just very interesting. And again, it's just one of many stories that are just baffling. But anyway, Supertramp, I love them. They're awesome.
They are so good. But that's anyway. That's the type of, I thought, man, if there was one band that has gone out, they really did something they could do. I really enjoy seeing that. But this, I'm sorry, it's a little sidetrack thing. But the album, which we're running out of time here, it's really good. It's solid. And I do want to say, probably, well, the song you thought was a callback. I'm gonna have the song right in front of me. Was it "Grateful"? You thought was the most um back song? I felt like that could actually go on Against the Law with Shining Star around there. The production sounded very similar to me, and I thought that was a pretty good album. I'll be honest with you. I know it gets bagged at times, but I thought it had some good moments in it.
Yeah, and it does.
As the songs go.
There's no denying that it does. But the thing, as everybody already knows, the thing I don't like about that album the most is it's not true Stryper form.
Right.
We changed everything, and it kind of walked away from who we were, who we are. It'd be like you know a team, a sports team that's super successful, and they have their colors and their style. Then all of a sudden they come out to play the next season, and they've got different colors on, different style, different players, different sound,
Mhm.
different everything, different style, not sound, but different,
Right.
different style of playing. And it applies to that album, and that's why. And I think the reasons why we changed everything were based on we were unhappy with ourselves. We were
Mhm.
searching. We started drinking a lot, and you know, girls hanging out on the buses, and our marriages started to suffer, and our life started to go down the tube, man.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't care for that album. It was not a good, healthy time in Stryper history at all.
I can see that. That's got a lot of baggage. I see as a fan of music, especially outside. I see like after you did, the album before that. To me, that album felt like not formulaic because it had some good songs on it. Of course, it had sound or whatever. It didn't feel like it was like every Stryper album had something special and a little pushing the boundaries. That felt like it
Yeah,
was almost falling into you knew where you were at. And to me, Against the Law, I felt like it was like you're like, you know what? We're going to cleanse the palate.
yeah,
And from then on in, everything felt more innovative again. Like it felt
yeah,
like that album just kind of felt like a wall to me. And Against feels like it was just starting fresh as an artist.
yeah,
That's how I see it on the outside.
yeah, yeah. No, and I mean, I think a lot of people, including myself, agree with you on that. The In God We Trust was kind of spinning the wheels. I think some killer songs on it, but
Right.
what I
But
don't
you're
care
a good
for,
songwriter though, so I mean, you're not gonna put out a crappy song. But
great
it wasn't the
songs.
same for some reason.
Yeah, I just didn't care for the production. It was a little too slick, overproduced, and I think everybody can agree to that. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not everybody, but a lot of people. And then Against the Law, look, Against the Law would have been a great Van Halen album.
But I'm just giving it props because he gets beat up a lot. I just want to say, personally, to me,
Yep,
I saw potential in it, and I thought,
yep,
oh, it actually got me some attention again because the last one I was like, well, I don't know, it feels like it's kind of falling into a trap.
yep,
And I was like,
yep,
and I heard it out, and that album came out. I go, oh, I can listen to some more.
totally.
So, but anyway, we're out of time. So, people, September 13th, you already have 3 songs out, and you're on tour, and I might actually see you because you're playing near me on the 13th at Mohegan Sun, September 13th,
Nice. That's
same day of
awesome.
the concert.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. We're going to get out there and hit the road, and hopefully everything's going to be good. We're going to sound good. We're going to know these new songs. That's always the scary part is, we'll know them, but being comfortable with them, that's a whole
how many
other
songs are you
story.
going to do from this one? How many are you going to throw in there?
Probably three within the set.
Eagles, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So people, if you're not aware, go see him live, and you might see that Michael plays guitar. You might learn that if you're not. Michael, it's a pleasure. I look forward to next week chat again, and maybe I'll see you at your show in a couple
All
weeks.
right,
All right, man.
Sean. Thank you, man. I
Thank you, man.
appreciate it,
Thank you.
brother.
All right, man. Take care.
See you, my
Bye
friend.
bye.
Bye,
Bye.
man.